What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Kamaka III before his big fight with Brendan Loughnane on August 23rd in the semi-finals of the PFL 2024 tournament. Kai, thank you very much for joining me again. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, doing good. Just in the middle of a training week. Getting close to 1 month out, so I'm excited. I'm excited for this matchup. Excited for this opportunity, and excited to be at this part of the PFL tournament.
How is it differed from your past career? Obviously, you fought in at the highest level in the UFC and with Bellator, but obviously it's different. It's not the season format where you have guaranteed fight after fight after fight. Is it a lot different? Are you enjoying it, or how different does it feel for you?
Um, I guess there's pros and cons to, and is I'm enjoying it though. You don't have to worry about the stress of getting a fight lined up, but then you get the stress of, okay, you gotta be prepared and be sharp for the next one. So it's, pick your battle, and I'm glad that I'm lined up for another one. You just keep doing your job, and you get another bout lined up. So it's there's different stresses, and I'm just glad to be dealing with these stress.
We'll pop back to PFL in a second, but I was thinking of what questions I could ask you earlier on, and so I'm here in Ireland, obviously, as you know, and a lot of the fighters coming through now look at, Conor McGregor, and they say, okay, I started fighting because of him, and a lot of Irish fighters are like that at the moment. For you, someone who came up in Hawaii, and there's a lot of Hawaiian fighters doing really well at the moment, was BJ Penn like that for you? Or did you get your inspiration from somewhere else? Is he that sort of character in Hawaii like McGregor is in Ireland?
Yeah, he was. Or from people my age, or like people that was in the sport as long as me. I don't know about like the new kids nowadays. I don't think they even know how big of a star and how much meaning um BJ is to MMA. Because they've only seen the latter part of his career. But yeah, he was like growing up. I mean, I've seen, like, when I was watching like Vitor Belfort versus Chuck Liddell in the like in the UFC, like those type of pay-per-views, whereas what we were watching when I was a young kid. And then all the big shows when I was like, the early 2000s to like the late 90s is what I was watching. I mean, all like that's how early I was watching MMA. I wanted to do MMA. So like Hawaii has a big part in MMA in general, and just with like Super Brawl, all the biggest names coming to Hawaii to fight, the Shamrocks, yeah, everybody was coming to Hawaii to fight at the biggest names. And then you had BJ. BJ brought K1 to Hawaii. BJ had Rum on the Rock. He was winning world titles, so he's definitely the one. When I was a kid, he was the one that helped inspire me to know that this is, or like that next level was possible for us kids from Hawaii.
How important is that? Because, like, and I suppose, as you made a good point, MMA was always kind of popular with Hawaii, but to look for someone who can not just be in the UFC or a good fighter in the UFC, but a champion and a double champion, and arguably at one stage, the pound for pound best fighter in the world, are getting towards there. It must be such an inspiration to see, like, if he can walk that path, I can kind of walk that path too.
Yeah, it is. Um, and I just had so much exposure to MMA, and then you had those guys doing successful MMA in different promotions. Like I had my uncle Falanico Vitale. He was fighting in like Strike Force IFL. My uncle Ron John, who fought Chris Lido in the UFC, and then he fought for the King of the Cage world title. So I had different people around me that kind of helped, like that was fighting in the states already, and then kind of on different levels. And then you had BJ Penn, so Kendall Grove, who was always a part of my life, took some capacity in the martial arts, um in MMA. He was staying with me for in our house for a little bit. So yeah, I had a lot of like inspirations, a lot of role models to be around growing up.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. So how young were you kind of entrenched in martial arts? Was it very young?
Very young, yeah. But then I had a different path. Like I wrestled in college. And then I had a bunch of injuries right after college, shoulder surgeries, eye surgery, which kind of like slowed down my career, like just for bits of time. So it wasn't like I had all the time in the world for MMA right out of high school. It was just I had dealt with surgeries. I was wrestling in college, so yeah, I had a lot of exposure to MMA from a very young age. Like this is my path for sure. It's just now everybody's getting to see it.
It's very. I'm always fascinated by that because like a lot of people, I suppose, get to that part of their life, especially when you're in American sports, you know, in an American college and an American sports background, that they kind of, you know, you hear the stories all the time. You finish college and that's kind of the end of the sporting background. Was it always, or the end of the sporting life, I suppose? Was it always a thing for you that you knew from the second you left college that you were going to be a professional MMA fighter and you were going to go on to have this career?
Yep, yep. It was before college. I knew that MMA was gonna be it. Like I tried to not go to college. You know, my parents wanted me to go to college to wrestle. Um, but yeah, it was all MMA was always the plan from the beginning. This was always plan A.
And having obviously Ray Cooper as well, we've seen his fights recently and all that. Was he a big inspiration for you as well? I suppose in the more earlier is the fact that he's gone in and he's won the million as well. What you're trying to do this year, that must have been a big help too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean MMA of course, but yeah, that was like my role model growing up. Like in high school wrestling as a kid, football. Growing up, I wanted to be like my cousin. In many different ways, and then he became a world champion. You know, multiple times for the PFL. Made a lot of money, and just so happened my path has brought me to here. This fight. Yeah, so I'm excited.
So far this year, you fought obviously Bubba Jenkins and Pedro Carvalho, and gone to two decisions where you look good in both of them, but both were, you know, tough fights against two tough guys. I suppose, how do you reflect on those fights? Is there any insight you could give us into either of those two fights as we kind of meet, hopefully anyway, for yourself, the midpoint of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm past. Obviously, but we can talk about it now. I'm past those fights. The Bubba Jenkins fight was a great fight as far as like the whole camp and everything. Like that's what I wanted. The build up of a fight, the style of a guy that you gotta beat, because he carries, or it's like that's the answers a lot of questions. If you beat that kind of guy, a wrestler, whatnot, then his aura, you get to beat that. Um, and then just the behind the scenes inner gym drama that you that we were getting, like not crazy, but like obviously him and or his coach is Dewey Cooper, my head coach is Eric Nixick. It's kind of I mean, it's like they work together, but here they're going against each other. We both in Vegas, so that was that got me up. That got me up like to do my part and win that fight. And then the next thing was I would say then I got to get the job done against somebody I grew up watching wrestling. So that was another thing. The Pedro Carvalho fight was totally different. It was totally different. It was a guy I got to like. He wasn't on the hottest streak, right? I mean, as we knew, but he had a murderer's row of opponents. So I couldn't look past that. But I felt like I knew I was way better than Pedro in many facets, which kind of made it tough during the fight, during the camp at times, to where like I didn't know, like it was hard to get up for it, and it kind of showed in my performance. Um, so yeah, so that was the thing that in that fight that kind of brought out that performance. It wasn't the best performance, but there's a lot of things behind it that kind of didn't make it a great performance.
Do you think Pedro's a little bit underrated as well? Obviously, as you know, I'm here in Ireland. He trains out of Ireland, so maybe I'm a tad biased. But as you said, he's a murderer's row of opponents. He always takes on the best. He's obviously fought Patricio and all that. Do you think he's a tad underrated as a fighter? On the whole.
Yeah, for sure. He's very underrated. I mean, it was hard to say. I mean, he's really good. He's really tough. Um, that's why I couldn't underestimate him. I knew I was way better than him, way more skilled, way faster, way more technical. But he's still Pedro Carvalho that I was fighting. So I had to bring out the best in I still had to show up. I didn't bring out the best in myself, but I still had to show up and do my part because he can make it look like a nightmare. I could have my worst day on top of him, like how Mads Burnell did. You know what I mean? So but yeah, so I had the lead in that fight and just kind of got a little bit bored in there.
And in the next day was probably one of the craziest days I'd say of your team's life with Dan Ige obviously stepping in. If yours notice, I kind of give you a text that day and was like, "Is this actually happening?" You were like, "I think so," kind of thing. And that was when the card was, I'd say, still on. Can you just walk us through that day for you as someone who was, I suppose, there in the background watching it all? I suppose it's more fun for you than Dan has to look forward to the fight and everything, and I'm sure it's fun for him too. But can you walk us through that day and how it started, how soon you knew, and every the rest of the day, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, so how it started was I got home, and then me and Coach Eric we went our separate ways. Um, yeah, we went our separate ways, and we got started to enjoy our families, and then a few days, or I mean, a few hours go by, and then he called me twice, and he was like, "Yo, answer, like, call me ASAP," and I called him back ASAP, and then just things started rolling from there. He's like, "Yo, be like, Dan's gonna fight tonight, or he might fight. They're getting the deal done now." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, call me." This is like at 4 o'clock, Vegas time, which is the card started already at 3 o'clock. So, and then they're like, "Okay, yeah, let me know. I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. Like, just let me know." I didn't have, like, I had some stuff packed, like, from the trip, so I was like, "Yeah, well, just let me know. I'll head there right now." And then he's like, "Yo, okay, deal's done. Meet me at this gap. Meet me here. Drop your location. We don't got much time." Literally, like, as I'm driving up to that gas station, they pull right behind me as they're following my location. And then I get out the other car. Boom! I jump in Ali's car, and from there, it's like boom, boom, boom. And
It,
everybody was learning everything
mm.
literally, like, by the second that we were learning it. Like, as we got the info, things got, like, that's how fast everybody was learning about it too.
When you were still on the way when you were on the way to the arena, did you still not know the fight was actually going to happen?
Kind of, because, like, we knew, yeah, yeah. I felt like that because we signed, we did everything. Dan, when I say we, is like we knew, we on our part we were ready to go. Like, yeah, we're going through this, and then, but I'm like, we don't know if they signed, but I'm assuming because on the way there, Dan's talking to, or Ali's talking to Hunter, Ali's talking to Dana, and so I mean, it's all systems go as far as we know. And then when we get to the arena, the security is like, "What's your name?" And then uh, Dan's driving, and then Ali tells the security guy, like, "Brother, we don't have much time," and, like, just drives past the security guard, and then um, the UFC personnel start, like, kind of running to the car, like, tell us where to park, and then we start running in. Cameras start coming in on us, and then boom, 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 we get in. He weighs in, and it was kind of like a dream. Honestly, it was like a dream because I was like, I never got to settle from my fight, and then everybody had their own cool little story to the whole deal.
It was such an odd scene because I was looking at Eric, and Eric was like very positive in the corner, and he was like, "Look, just go out and kind of have fun." And you could see Dan, obviously you're going to be fighting, so you're a little bit maybe more stressed, but still he went out and he basically performed. And I think you were the fascinating one because I was like, you just fought last night. It was a tough 15-minute fight. You're going to be worn out. You're going to be tired. You're going to have bumps and bruises. And, like, it was like, were you able to fully focus on that fight? Was there any stage you're like, how did I get here? What am I doing sitting here in the corner in that fight?
Nah, not really. I kind of got settled in pretty quick because I got there. I had to help Dan warm up, and there are some things that were like, "Whoa, what am I doing?" Like, walking out the co-main event, the place is packed out. I'm like, "Damn, it's about to happen." Then, but I mean, it's a fight, so you kind of get settled in right away. We're looking at across at his corner. Dan's feeling okay, so it's okay. Everything good.
Is that something you'd ever do yourself, or is having gone through that experience side by side is like, no, not a hope, never, or what do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean for sure I would do that. I mean if you're a real fighter, you would do that. Like he didn't have to cut weight, you know. I that's better. I feel like that's better than taking it on 7 days notice or 4 days notice because he didn't have to. He came in at 165, you know. So it's like that's way more. That's way better than coming in for on weight.
It was great to be part of that anyway. It was an unforgettable night. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to your opponent coming up, Brendan Loughnane, who we'll talk about in a second, earlier on today, and he told me that this is going to be like his last ever PFL tournament. He never wants to fight in the tournament again. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but does that change anything for you? Like that this is really like his last shot? You know, there's nothing left for him after this in terms of the PFL tournament, and he's kind of open to just kind of go for it.
Does it change anything for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, no. I'm excited I get to fight somebody like him. I'm excited that I get to fight him actually in my path to the championship because I come out of this fight and I end up winning the world title. Who can deny my roster of fights that I just took, to get to the title and win the PFL title? You can discredit the PFL title all you want, but you won't be able to discredit the path that I took.
100%. What do you think of Brendan as a fighter? Because obviously here in this part of the world, I've known Brendan since basically he kind of made his debut and have watched his whole rise. What do you think of him as a fighter? As you yourself a very good technical fighter, feels like Brendan is attempting to reach that sort of perfection as well. Is that the way you see him as a good technical fighter, or is there another part of his game that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think he's good, technical. He's fast, athletic. Um, you could tell like we have like kind of the same attributes. It might look different to people, but we kind of have the same attributes. Speed, technical, boxing, kicking. It looks different the way it comes out that we show it, but we have a lot of the similar traits. It looks we do it differently, and I'm younger, so I mean, yeah, I mean it's gonna very very fast. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a great fight. I feel like it's the best type of matchup for both of us.
Do you think he's the best guy left in the tournament apart from yourself?
I think I mean, yeah, I think so. I think he has the most experience. Uh, he has the most experience in this tournament. Um, it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say for the other two guys. Honest, like Braga and Timur, they're great. They're obviously good. They got in this position. We've gotten this position, but they're younger. We're younger. They've been in the PFL and Bellator. Um, yeah, we just haven't seen too much tape on all. Like I mean, Braga, we've seen him come up to the PFL, but yeah, we do. I mean, but I've seen Brendan Loughnane. Well, people have seen Brendan Loughnane fight a lot of different stuff, and then they've seen me fight. So it's like I think we have the bigger names. That's why we're the main event.
Do you watch an awful lot of tape for your opponents? Because I know obviously Eric watches an awful lot of tape and he's a very hands-on coach. Is that something you do a lot of, watching tape?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I kind of. There's when I'm getting ready for a specific guy. I'm not watching only that guy. I kind of like to change it up. Like if I have this guy that I'm fighting, I might watch guys that are similar to him too. That might, or like they might be better than him at something. Not specifically like Brendan or whatever, but if I'm gonna fight like a kickboxer, I'm gonna watch this my opponent, and then I might watch somebody else that is good at kickboxing. Kind of, you can pick up because then the guy he fought dealt with things different too. So that's kind of the way I like to do it. If I'm fighting, because it's hard to say because if you watch only tape on him, they're fighting that style because of the guy that they're fighting. You know, so I try to watch how he deals with different styles or how a kickboxer would deal with like a wrestler in different ways, or kind of, it's kind of I don't and I don't like to think about my opponent too much too much. There's a give and take on it.
Do you almost have to go and find an opponent that he has fought that's like you a bit, so that is that something that you do and have done in the past?
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I would do. And then but then to my own self, right? It's like he's fighting that guy because that's that guy. He's not fighting that guy because that's me. I think I offer different stuff. So you watch some of the tape, but you cannot get too wrapped up in it, because I don't think Brendan Loughnane has fought anybody like me. And same, I haven't fought somebody like Brendan. So you cannot put too much into it. Because if he thinks I'm a boxer, kickboxer, striker, yeah, he might be right. But I'm also like I've wrestled all my life, college wrestler. So I mean, I'm gonna use everything I got in this fight, because this fight means more to me than the last 2 fights that I had or the championship. Because if I win this fight, this carries a lot. These last 3 fights carry more weight than the championship, in my opinion.
I want to ask you 2 more questions. I really appreciate the time, and it's kind of to go off of just what you said. So you mentioned Braga and his Riev. First question: who do you think will win that fight, and who do you think you'll be fighting in the final?
If I win this fight, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Gonna be. It's gonna be a great fight. Maybe Timur. Timur has more ways to win the fight. Is what is what to the eye you might think. Yeah, he can strike, he can wrestle, so he can put it in. Like, there's different ways he can win. But Braga obviously has good takedown defense and heavy-handed. So whoever can play their game, but I think that Timur has more ways to win. And same like me and Brendan, I feel like, yeah, it's a great fight, great matchup, but I feel like I have more ways to win.
I wasn't going to ask you who you think will win that fight, because I think I might guess that. So when we talk about martial arts, this is the last question. Like, we always talk about when we talk about MMA, we always talk about the martial arts side of it and the prize fighting side of it. And I feel like for you, when I look at you, like I see martial artist, like a very technical fighter and a very respectful guy who speaks well about the sport. But then at the end of the day, the next 2 fights, you're going to win $1 million if you win the 2 of them. So from that point of view, how much would it mean to you to win this game, basically? Not a lot of people fight and can win $1 million. How massive would it be for you and your family and your career if you were able to win that $1 million?
Honestly, the money is nice. But I feel like when I win this tournament, the 4 fights that I won, it will hold more weight than the $1 million to me. Because when I solidify these 4, the money gonna go, right? The money gonna go. So when I win these 4 fights, especially my path, I feel like I'm gonna have the toughest path, or with the best names on it. It would carry more weight for my future contracts, my next contract. So you erase the $1 million. Even if you erase the $1 million, whoever comes out, if I come out the champion or somebody else comes out the champion, I feel like my path would be the best. My path would hold the most weight So I feel like the money is nice. The money, don't get me wrong, that's for my family. But as for me, it's the belt signifies what the future will really be. And not even saying that what belt it holds more weight than any other belt. It's just, for me, out of this tournament, I feel like I had the best path and the most unquestionable.
Yeah, I love the phrase, some people fight for silver and others fight for gold. And you're definitely one of the ones that fights for gold anyway. Kai, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to the fight. I think it's the best fight this year. And best of luck to yourself and Brendan. I'm sure you'll put on a great show. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I feel like it's real fans know, that this is probably like the best matchup that could have happened, and I'm glad that it's happening. I'm glad that it's happening for me, because who wouldn't want to go through a tournament and face somebody who is a face of a promotion and face somebody who's a former champion. You know what I mean? And somebody as good as Brendan Loughnane. Because if I beat him, what does that say for me? You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see it, guys. Thank you very much for the time and best of luck for the fight. Thank you.
Thank you.